Welcome to the panel. And we would like to continue here with what Tiina just started, but actually what the 3 days we have been discussing in more general. And Tiina and Luc, you have both been attending now the conference for 3 days or for 4 days. For Tiina, for you also participated in the PhD school day. So for the start, could you just share some, perhaps some main insights that you have received from this conference? Some, I don't know, some eye-opening experiences or thoughts, or what would you like to take with us? What would you like to share with the audience from here, from this conference?
Okay.
I'll let you start. I was talking for 30 minutes just now.
Always good to have a start. Well, I think some acknowledgements I got, and also some really nice insights as well. So I think that we are already a long time in a need of new decision support instruments actually in practice. And I think the scientific community is working already hard on those new instruments because, well, first of all, we actually want people to change their behavior in a certain way. We want the mobility transition. We really would like to see that. And furthermore, we also see, I'm not sure if it's still working, okay, the way we're designing mobility is also changing in terms of that we're moving from CAPEX to OPEX, for instance, and we're more and more looking at a good usage of our system instead of only introducing new capacity in this system. And furthermore, there is an increase in complexity in terms of the interaction between domains because the technology is driving farther and further, which makes the behavior more complex, but also the choices we make more complex. And all this combines and increases actually the uncertainty, for instance. So the only constant is the change we actually have. And all these models we're traditionally still using, I'm not trying to say it's really worse or really good, but they're often still founded on the fact that we're still building new infrastructure. They're looking at large differences in our infrastructure and what the impacts are. We're still focusing on putting in behavior in these models, in which we assume to be constant over time, which is, of course, also not true. Still, those models have value because you can't embrace or change everything in these models because you have to have some reference you are looking at to compare differences. But it also means that you need new kind of instruments and models, and also more data-driven models. So one thing I would mention is the keynote of Professor Axhaus, in which he also said we actually need new, and we are embracing more and more new data, but we also have to almost convince all kind of stakeholders in the whole process of changing or adopting new methods, because we're actually in a, well, at least in the country I'm in a certain system lock-in in which we're used to use the same kind of methods, the same kind of data, because we already use it for a long time. We have some belief in the way it works, but it also makes it really difficult to embrace or to change the system and embracing new concepts. And another thing which I thought was really interesting, I have seen a lot of interesting things, so sorry if I don't mention you, but is the keynote of Professor Scheller, in which she says, also if you use data, you have to be really alert, because what you find the most is the biggest and the largest way the people behave in the largest streams, which will be dominant in your analysis, which is still the current behavior. So you have to find actually for the niches in the data to see what can help or can help in change. So that's the second thing I would like to mention. Yeah.
Thank you, Tiina.
Yes, I do agree completely on this, and I also see it. One thing that really stuck on me from the Sunday PhD school starting, we had a lecture on urban walkability modeling, And there, just this one sentence saying that it's incremental things that we do, which may actually then make the change. But then when we think about, for example, behavior change, or that, and I know that we are kind of like in an urgent situation with the world, but we often then when we do things and we measure and study, we are expecting these huge things that, okay, we build a cycling lane and then suddenly 80% of all car drivers started biking, right? So we're kind of like with this mode, but then it's actually, it's incremental things that eventually build up change, where I think it's a very good note. And then also this sort of thing that has been mentioned in I think in many presentations is also about this thing that can we rely on build it and they will come? That can we just offer carrots and then that will work? Or should we actually also look at how we can use the stick in a nice way? I mean, like, we live in a very car-dominant societies in urban, especially in urban areas. And is it that let's build cycling ways that will for sure support people's cycling behavior, but will it change the overall mobility practices of people? Unless we make, for example, driving difficult or unpleasant. And I know it's politically extremely difficult. I do understand that. But it's also a reality. It looks like that. It's just, we need more.
Perhaps here is a correct moment to turn to you, Jiri, with this public sector and experience and very close to decision makers, we might also say. So is there anything actually missing that you in the cities don't know yet from research? But everything, you know, there are some other bottlenecks why the knowledge that we already have so hasn't put into practice to not only make those incremental changes towards a better future, but more radical transitions that are also urgently needed? Or is there anything that you can pinpoint that, hey, actually, we need researchers, you to actually think of those and those aspects that we do not know yet, and this would actually, shoot off the change?
Okay, nice broad question. I will start with this one, that I do agree with both of you that, in fact, data is important. We have now more data which say us how people are moving, but we don't know exactly why they are doing this one. So if I would have one short answer to your question, then we should better understand why people are moving in this way as they are moving. What are those drivers? But still, I feel that Tartu has quite good knowledge about mobility, and we have quite a lot of data. This is not problem. Problem is when you want to use data for change, because it can be maybe strange, but you can use data also to not change anything. Mm-hmm. And this is quite often the case because, for example, now we are measuring, we have built one short street in the new way. There are new biking lines, but it's really short and it's not connected with the other biking lines. And now we are measuring how many cycles are there every day, if people are using it or not. And we are measuring because there is a prediction that there is not enough cyclists, and then the investment was not worth to do it. So you can use data also to explain why not to do anything. And there was some article, it was last week from Finland, that in Helsinki there were measured that there is more biking lanes, but people are using less cycling. I don't know anything about this. I know only that it was largely presented in newspapers in Estonia to explain why we should not build biking lanes. So data itself, it's not enough. I feel that, and also it was really interesting as you are talking about this, those carrots and sticks. I feel that, in fact, you cannot, at least in context of Tartu, you cannot use only carrots, because Tartu is quite dense, and urban space is really limited. So if you want to redistribute space in this way, that there would be space also for cycling or bike lines, then it means that you need to take space from somewhere else. And because Tartu is really reached the moment when almost all the space within one street is used for cars, then you can take the space only from there. And this is really political decision, because as financial resources, also space resources, distribution of those resources are all the times the result of political decision. We are voting for some people for this, that they would redistribute the resources what we have, and this is, at least in the Estonian context, this is the point which is slowing the process the most. It seems that the majority of the people are not prepared to make this change in their mobility, in the way how they are commuting, and because they are not prepared to do it, then they are voting for politicians who are delivering policy for them. And really, during last elections, both in Tallinn and in Tartu, mobility was one of the two biggest topics to be discussed. And in both cities won parties which are against this change. So I feel that it's temporary. It will be changed once, but this is the main reason why we are not moving more fast. So not data, but this one that majority of people is not prepared to do it.
Pille, would you like to comment on here?
Yes, I definitely would. And I would like to thank you, Tiina, for a very enjoyable presentation. And I did like the maps, they were not so bad. And as I'm a consultant, then I was maybe slightly touched by your remark that this is done by a consultant, so don't look at them. Yes, Jiri's comment got me thinking actually that maybe we in Estonia are still in a phase that we as planners, we tend to act like our planning is data-driven. It's data and evidence-based, while in the UK and, let's say, other Western countries, it is more relevant to the understanding that we have to be evidence-informed. So the politicians, the local circumstances, the values by the citizens, they are all equally important while planning or while composing planning solutions. And I think in Estonia, we as planners, maybe we are a bit confused already, as there's an abundance of data. There are millions of dashboards being composed. All of them are supposed to support our planning decisions. And we are, I think, feeling quite overwhelmed about the abundance of data. And right now looking for the ways. We used to think that we do not know the right answers, but we at least know what will happen if this or that is planned. And of course, we do have the tools which will help us to predict and to analyze the scenarios. But still, I think it is difficult times maybe in Estonia, because the high numbers of dashboards and supports for decision making, it is something that we haven't been used to.
Mm-hmm. And haven't been used to, so now you, in a way, you indicate the change that has happened in the field more broadly. But I think that in the Netherlands, you've been having those dashboards and decision supporting tools in use for a long time. And do you also feel that your decisions are data driven and not only data informed?
No, they're not yet data driven, I think. We're an overly modeled country. And not necessarily in terms of using the actual data. We model a lot. And we see that there is more and more, at least from the policy side, the need to change in terms of can we change the way we plan in terms of being more vision-led planning than that we plan based on predicting a future we actually don't want to be in. So the paradigm is changing from predict and provide to design and provide, or vision and validate, or whatever term you want to change it, but we still have problems in actually doing this. So more and more cities, at least cities, are asking themselves the question, what city do I want to be? Part of the whole vision of making a plan. And then the question is far more about what kind of transition path is needed to end up in this future I want to be in. And in that sense, being able to validate, so to monitor this part can be highly data driven, actually, to see if I'm working in the right direction. I'm going to end up in this vision I want to be in, but we're actually not there yet. So it's still a way to go to actually do this in this way.
Tiina, what about in Finland? So when Luke has been talking now about this lock-in, that there have been traditions and systems and models and all institutional structures that lean on each other, and it's very hard to break it and break the use of the tools and methods that have brought us here with the predict and provide thinking. So do you see in Finland that this kind of approach is being broken, or that there is a strong strive systematically to induce a change in this kind of modeling and planning and governance system, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a very good question, which I can kind of only answer from the academic side, obviously, because I'm not a planner. We may have even like planners from the Finnish case. I don't know if they already had to go, but anyway. What I see, one thing is that we used to have actually much closer collaboration between universities and cities. So universities were even like somehow collaborating with cities or even with the national, like our transport agency in providing, let's say, some models or this. But for some reason, which I can only guess, is that with this, we don't anymore seek for research funding that would be more on national level, that we can do this practice-oriented thing, but we are more driven towards that, you know, we need to do big scale research, international, something, I don't know, it needs to be scaled up, which is, it's a valid point. But then my feeling is that this has sort of shrunk, like, it's not that much anymore there, that the city-university collaboration, which I think it would offer actually a lot of possibilities, because especially in the Finnish case, we have one metropolitan region with around 1 million people. And then from there onwards, our cities are like 200,000 and down from there. So we actually, in the European scale and in global scale, it's tiny cities. There might be one person responsible for the transport planning thing in a municipality. And then obviously they work a lot with consultant companies also, but somehow I think that there is a lot of knowledge and skills also in university, which doesn't, like, it should bloom more in the practice side also.
Jiri, you also have both experience from academia and the city. How to unlock this city-university collaboration, or how to make it more actionable? What would you suggest?
This is a really complicated question because from my point of view, from both municipalities where I have been working, the main problem is that the participation on the project with university need quite a lot of human resource on the municipality part, and because you are overloaded by those small everyday issues with what you need to do, you have no choice, then there is really few free resource to really participate. And of course, for deliver some change, it's a really long-term process, and this already makes it much more complicated to sell it to politicians, because for them often it's not so important what will happen in 20 years. For them it's important what will happen in 2 or 3 years. And if you as an official are not able to explain to politician why you need this time resource to participate, then often you fail to do it, even if you know that it would be a really important issue to work with. And also there is a problem that if you have been talking that in Finland you have one metropole and then 200,000 and less than in Estonia, we have one in European context small city, and the others are basically towns, and we have at least 2 or 3 universities which are trying to play the game on the European level. So they need for their projects to cooperate with cities, and then there is only 2, maybe 3 options. So Tallinn and Tartu is in fact overloaded by the interest of universities to cooperate. So all this makes it really hard, but still it needs to be done, because why we would have this academic part if it would have not impact on the everyday life. But there are those problems that I explained just now.
Mm-hmm. But Pille is working on a strategic planning level, doing both spatial plans on a national level as well as on a municipal level, and less so on a detailed plan level. So you have this strategic view. And now we heard about that Tallinn and Tartu, or the metropolitan area in Finland, and in all other of your countries, the similar pattern occurs, that those cities are privileged in a way, because those cities have also those universities who make all case studies, all tools based on those cities. Mm-hmm. And they are rarely done on those towns or those some rural municipalities, etc. So what do you feel as a spatial planner, very often in rural municipalities, working with different stakeholders there? Is it enough what the universities provide? Like, is it enough, this kind of like generic knowledge or generic understanding, the principles that work? Or should there be more like contextualized, localized research, which is then valid in this spatial context and social context as well?
Yes. Maybe I would like to start from, again, reflection on Tiina's comment, that it struck me again that Estonia is always following Finland, that with a short delay. So right now I think we are on a wave that at our national level, our ministries understand that universities are really important, that we need the data, the knowledge. And for the first time in planning history, Estonian ministries have started to fund some research and actually trying to use them. We are preparing a new national spatial plan in Estonia, and indeed there were some considerably, I think, finance in Estonian sense studies and research done beforehand, which is really good. So now I'm afraid that following in Finland, that maybe it's not the case in the future, but hopefully we will stay on this wave. But yes, the question about smaller municipalities is a very accurate one and very hot debate right now among planners as well, because what we see is maybe that the key factor is trust, that the knowledge is not adopted because it is there, but because it is trusted, that we do trust the data, that we can be sure that this is something that can be used. Because both planners and decision makers, I think, are dealing with the situation that the data is so big for us, we cannot verify it, far from it, we just have to trust it. So in smaller places, as you are maybe exposed more to the community reactions, then it is really important to be able to explain that this data source, that this particular researcher is not connected to the developer, and he or she actually has the both the methods and the knowledge to prepare some analysis or studies.
Mm-hmm. Look, do you have anything to...
Yeah. I was actually intrigued because if you look at also in the Netherlands, we see that the knowledge at municipalities is a problem, and it's a problem which is because of finance, but also because the tasks people have is huge for what they have available in terms of resources and what they all have to know. And it's only going to increase even more because I wrote an article which was saying a picture breaks more than 1,000 words can repair. It's often the other way around. But in this sense, if you look at the technical developments in which you can make beautiful pictures, and if you have not the knowledge behind it to understand if it's really true what I'm seeing, or is there a good sound background in how this picture is made? With AI, is only going to be even worse. So it would be really nice if there would be some kind of collaboration within a country or within a city in which the university or the real experts at the universities can help municipalities, for instance, to be that validator or that critical mind, helping them to understand, is this something I really need to, I can trust or I shouldn't?
How to actually enforce it? Who should initiate this kind of collaboration, these kinds of formats?
Yeah, the problem is always that it has to do with money, right? In the end, in terms of because what I also see, but that's more of a practical thing, is that if I'm talking with road authorities or municipalities, with my head of the university, they sometimes think that everything is already paid. So as if I'm just there to help them, and that we don't need the funds also to be able to do our research as well. So somehow there, I think in the end it's still a governmental task to organize this and also have the funds available for universities or for academics to also fill in this kind of tasks, I think.
Yeah, I would like to hear the comments from both Tiina from the Finnish experience, and also you have been working in different types of cities and different types of universities, and then, well, from the public sector side, from Jiri. But Tiina, please.
Yeah, I will. I need to say this, that it's a funny line that Estonia apparently looks Finland, and we actually look towards Sweden. So Sweden, please do good things in future. But that is really a thing that Finnish, I think it's a lot the same thing, that we look towards Sweden, like what's happening there. So maybe we should target the funding towards Sweden and all the resources, that things are done well there, so then we can see this downstream is also doing good. But seriously taking, my experience from working with the cities is that with mid-sized municipalities, things work very well. and we can actually really do, like, I feel it, that we do really this research and practice collaboration. Like now, the very recent project we are doing with the city of Oulu, and we have been analyzing the baseline data now, for example, and we were looking at these neighborhoods because we need to come up with, like, where do we target the winter maintenance interventions. So we were really analyzing and looking at it, and then we had workshop with them. At the end of the workshop, so they were like, yeah, that's really good. Can you send the data to us? And we were like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, with geomasking, like all of with the privacy things. They were like, we're gonna look at it, and we can kind of like see what would be the best intervention sites. And we were like, so you're gonna do our job for us? Which is in a sense, but they don't see it like this. They were like, now we get really good data which will support our goals, and what the planners there are saying, that maybe reflecting a little bit on this, like that it's a big, also a burden for cities. I've heard this, that as long as the research project aligns with what is in the strategy or what is on the table for the next 4 years, it will be like they can actually take it, but then there is so much that they still have to pick, that there is no resources with that. So then I think that also sort of should direct us more towards, well, there are pretty many cities around in Finland also. They are a bit smaller, but they could actually really need, or they could actually really take advantage of this collaboration, and it could be actually very fruitful. Because then when we scale up to bigger cities, it is still like they really want also to do collaboration, but then you are a little bit, from my experience, it's more difficult. The organization is already so big, and finding the right people and sort of doing it there. So I think from the research side, it's fruitful that you have these mid-size and maybe smaller cities.
Yeah, great. And there are many more smaller cities than there are bigger cities.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I think I read somewhere that most of the urbanized people actually live in mid-sized and small, but not maybe in the Finnish scale, like mid-sized. Global scale mid-size is something, but still, most of us still don't live in the big metropolitans.
Jiri.
I have the same experience as Tiina, only from second side. This is exactly like this, that if the interest about some academic project fit in your schedule, which is for next years, then you can do it. If not, then it will. You have no resource to do it. So I agree with this one, and also I agree with you that this is question of, in fact, of financing. But I feel that, as Pille told, there is really some change on the state level. For example, as an example, I can bring that now there will be research about affordable housing in Estonia for the first time in Estonian history, and it's paid and run by a state, but the field of interest is among others Tartu. So we will get a lot of information and data paid by state, which will help for us to deliver better policy. Why it is like this? It's because Estonia is forced to do it because of the European rules. So the trigger comes from Europe, but the crowds are in Tartu, which is a good example, I think.
Mm-hmm. Pille, you as a spatial planner, again, being in those processes, which start the analysis, or which are the triggers of many analyses, I think that, and you have seen the data, like ground truth availability in many municipalities in Estonia. So do you see, like, or who should initiate this kind of generation of this new understanding, if necessary, or new data collections? Is it done then, like a travel survey comprehensive plan, and then you initiate the travel survey, and you, as a consultant in between, you see that, okay, this is now the process, the moment in time where this is initiated, or you can actually go to a municipality and see that they have this kind of long-term history of data, and you just build upon that, and you see that all the trends over there. Or the third option could be that actually no new analyses are initiated during the comprehensive plan process, but municipalities only expect that perhaps the researchers would come and comment, either as researchers or then as citizens. So again, like, where does this responsibility in initiating collaboration and initiating the like getting the understanding, getting new insights? Who has this responsibility and which processes carried? Very complex question.
Very complex question. I think it is, as always, a shared responsibility, and that's why it isn't working. But in Estonian case, I think our non-governmental sector is growing, so our citizen society, I think, maybe is helping in a way, because there is demand for more analytical approaches in spatial planning. It started off with renewable energy and onshore wind parks, and we are still struggling how to find suitable locations for them, and how to persuade local residents to cope with our 320 meters high wind turbines. And in this case, we see that the village associations, they actually look for scientists. They try to find some researchers, of course, with their own agenda, that the researcher has to prove their assumptions. So this is one, I don't know, is it a good or bad model, but it is really happening right now. So the citizens actually look for evidence. So this is, I think, a real thing. But local municipalities are trying out several models. I think the most useful, in my case at least, or in my experience, is definitely the one that there is some research done, but not maybe crazy amount of different studies and data collecting initiatives. But the scientists or the researchers stay in touch. So indeed, they can maybe offer some consultation or open up a few of them findings during the process. So this is actually helping. I think many Estonian mid-size, so very small towns actually find it useful. So this is, I think, an optimistic view that we can continue this way.
So we can see that there is some trust in expertise, but at the same time, of course, that you must have your own agenda from and then hiring those researchers that share our agenda. So this might be a bit problematic too. Now I would like to welcome questions from the audience. So whether you have any comments or any questions to our dear panelists.
Carl Samuelsson from University of Gävle in Sweden. The development in Sweden over the last years has actually not been great in terms of transport issues. So it's been a kind of petropopulism going on. So I think don't follow that path, at least not on a national level. That was aside. You were talking about the sticks and carrots at the start, and kind of that when you have to redistribute space in cities when there's change, and it's made me think of when there's change, there is always winners and losers. Maybe, if not in an absolute sense, at least in relative sense, that there are some that benefit less than others. So, I think maybe from the point of view of transport research, when we get these big shiny travel data sets, that we kind of start to look for efficiency, optimization, synergies, and so on. And what we heard on this conference is that from Professor Scheller's keynote and from other presentations that in these cases, maybe the losers are the ones that are underrepresented in this data. So I'm thinking if we kind of need to be a bit more explicit about winners and losers when we talk about change, and so on. And first of all, like if you agree about that, and then also how can we maybe do that in a way that is useful for planning and for planning to achieve a change, because I know it's also a sensitive topic, kind of, but yeah.
Do you address it to one of them
to
particularly?
anyone who feels
would like
compelled to
yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Okay, I can start. I am not sure that I agree with you totally, because in the moment of the change, maybe there are winners and losers. But as you explained before, we should look for what happens if we will behave in this way in the future. And if citizens of Tartu continues to move as they are moving, then Tartu already in 20 years would be a really ugly place to live. So you cannot look on those losers which are losing now. You need to really look for this long perspective. And in this case, if you are really good politician or decision maker, then you feel that you are in your position to deliver this change for the future. So maybe I'm naive, but from my perspective, if you really want, have motivation for you to do the job you are doing, you need to accept that temporarily this was this is not completely accepted from all. And I am architect, so I have the same question often with space changes at all, because normally during planning process, designing process, and building process, mostly what you get is opposition. We as a people, we are quite conservative. We don't like the environment around us to change, because with every change there is a lot of things which can go wrong. So as an architect or space maker, you can judge the quality of the change only afterwards. And also you need to have some time afterwards, because people need to adapt on the new space. So I don't know. I think it's not good perspective to look on urban space or mobility from this perspective of winners and losers, because this is what we are doing, and that's what is making those really ugly disputes between cyclists and car drivers, and this is not productive. This will not deliver us anything which is good.
If I can argue, maybe again a perspective from the planner, what we are doing in Estonia, I think we are trying to persuade the losers that you are actually winners. We are still trying to convince them that in long term it will be better. And in theory it should work, because as you usually explained that yes, actually in theory at least in the future we would get much better environment. But in practice it is often very emotional, it is really very a human thing to do, that you will look at your own values, at your own statements, and you are not very willing to change them. So maybe we still should accept that, yes, in your point of view, you are a loser, although I think that you are a winner, and then somehow work on that. Because I have a situation at home, so I know what I'm talking about, because my husband doesn't like cycling roads too much, although he is cycling, but he's saying that we are still not doing very much good for the drivers in Tartu. So yes, I have very personal experience on that.
Yeah, so it also depends on the definition of what you're winning and what you're losing, right? So I think everyone thinks it may be better to have a more inclusive and more equitable situation, but that also means that people who are now better off than others will lose, also, of course, in the end. So that's an addition, I think, to that.
Yeah. Do you also want to comment? Or?
I can just agree.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We have a question by Mimi Scheller.
Mimi Scheller from the United States, and it's a funny thing happened. Tiina, in one of your slides, when you were the first slide that was about winter maintenance, there was a picture of a city, and I suddenly recognized it as my home city of Philadelphia, actually, because I saw logos for Drexel University and the Science Center. And it made me think about the conversation that I'm hearing as a very European conversation that is assuming a certain kind, and this is a question for everybody, assuming a certain stability, like a stability, a continuity of culture, of politics, of how we do things. And of course, in the US, we're living through a period of extreme turnaround of everything. So where we had been working towards sustainable mobility transitions, increasing funding for pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, investing in public transit, having all of these discussions with universities and consultants and city planners, that's all screeched to a halt, right? And we've done a complete reversal. And so I'm interested in the politics of disruption, and not just political disruption, and that's partly the debates you were mentioning of like the car drivers being upset with the bicycle lanes, your husband not wanting bike infrastructure, whatever. That's many people feel that way. But then there's the economic disruption, the potential for an energy crisis, right? For huge increases in petrol and diesel prices, and how would that affect our entire urban infrastructure? And then thirdly, the climate crisis, which we've actually taken as an assumed starting point, but we've been very quiet about what does climate change actually mean for our urban infrastructure, for our transport systems? How is it changing our ability to actually build and maintain and keep going the systems that we have now? And so I just wondered about your thoughts on, from that sort of landscape level in transition theory, changes that could have cascading effects. How are planners and cities and citizens going to deal with those?
If I may, I will reflect on the more or the final part. But I think it's something that has it become too of a normal thing? Like, yeah, we will have this climate change, or it's here and it's happening, or all this like this multi-crisis, that we are not actually sort of concretely thinking what will it mean, because it's there, we kind of acknowledge it, and then this will happen. And this very question occurred to me just this week, because the Finnish Parliament has this futures board that asked from our research center an opinion, or like a statement on like what will the everyday mobility of people look in 25 years. And this is said from the that it's very long, and it's perspective. But then they had these scenarios made, and what it will actually mean, like with with actual drastic changes like the Atlantic current crashing, and then we will actually have huge snowstorms, and we will actually have sea level rising, and in Finnish coast, that it might be even that we need to change the capital to inner land. And are we thinking about this in very, very concrete level with the research when we are actually also making interpretations of our results and discussing what this will mean in future, like in very practical matters, like what this will mean? Or are we just framing it with this, like, well, we have these crises and then things, that's why we need to do this. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but maybe underlining also the concern.
I will continue. This kind of question, does it matter what you are doing? It's natural for everybody, and during last 5 years in Estonia, it's really a big question, because you can improve your urban space, but it can be like this, that in several hours the whole city needs to be evacuated, and we have those plans to evacuate the city. And but does it mean that you will forget your will to improve environment for people? Not. I think you should keep go on as fast as it is possible, because this is only way how to achieve something. And I still believe that if there are some difficult periods, then afterwards there will be also better periods. Tartu itself has been during last 300 years 3 times almost destroyed, and you can see what we have now here. So if in history it was possible to restart once, then we will be able to restart in future also.
Thank you, Jiri, and thank you everyone here. We have to now close the discussion, but let's see whether this one works now. Yes. So please stay here for a sec. Now I would like to ask every one of you here having a mobile phone, please come into the Slido and tell us what was the strongest insight for you from this Mobile Tartu 2026 conference, and let's see what are in the minds of you. But this positive notion, actually, in a way, this is still optimistic in the very pessimistic undertone. so that we still have hope, and we should not close down our universities, and we should not close down our cities. So in that sense, we would not live at all. Of course, we must hope for a better future and see our role and responsibility in shaping it. So, is it working? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. It's working. Erkki's boring spatial life. Mm-hmm. And this is equal to Anto's boring spatial life, isn't it? Although some people are still typing, 7 participants typing, so we already see the winning term, winning insight. This is collaboration, and this collaboration might take different forms, and I'm sure you had something in your mind, something specific, but from here and from this panel here, I would like to highlight the intersectorial collaboration, understanding each other, and if we do not understand or talk the same language all the time, then we at least have the very good wish to reach this. And sometimes perhaps we need mediators in the public sector, and also researchers from one field need mediators to talk to researchers from another field. And here also we see like, modeling experience or geography experience. So these are like, or planning experience, different perspectives come together, and this conference as well has been this kind of a platform where we come together and talk to each other from geography, but also from other fields, from research and from practitioners. So thank you very much to our panelists.